car. This weather is so gnarly. Ah! Believe it or not, I'm on my way to a friggin' hot spring in the middle of nowhere. I didn't know the weather was going to be like this. I planned this trip a long time ago, but it's actually kind of an interesting story. So I'm going to a hot spring that I've already been to. I went there this past summer and made a video that was called Bath Time in the Middle of Nowhere. And well, on that visit, I think that was in, early August. Weather was sunny, beautiful. I just had a wonderful time. Well, now it's November 6th. And well, guess what? Winter has arrived with a vengeance. That's why the landscape I'm driving through looks so apocalyptic. And why am I going back to this hot spring again so soon and in such inclement weather? Well, like I said, I planned this trip a while ago. After I posted that first video, one of the viewers of this channel watched the video and emailed me saying we should go out there and fix up the hot spring. You might remember when I came out here on my first visit, it was just kind of like a little muddy ditch lined with a raggedy tarp. I mean, it was a really nice little soak. I had a great time there, but the pool definitely could use some TLC. And so this guy proposed that he and his girlfriend and I go out and make some improvements to the hot spring. They're actually supposedly bringing a big stock tank out, you know, one of those big plastic round stock tanks that you see at hot springs. They're meant for like cows to drink water out of, but sometimes you see them at hot springs. And so that's what we're supposed to do. They're supposedly going to bring this stock tank out, meet me at the hot spring. We're going to dig out the ditch and bury the stock tank in there instead, and you know, make it nice for the next person, which I thought, hey, what a cool idea. You know, since I go to so many hot springs and take advantage of other people's hard work, you know, fixing those up, I thought it's about dang time that I do some work myself. So yeah, I volunteered to, you know, bring my work gloves, bring a shovel. I brought my galoshes. I think it might even be supposed to rain tomorrow. Yikes. So, God, that's the plan. We're supposedly going to make some improvements on this hot spring over the weekend. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like the weather is really gonna cooperate. I'm actually kind of worried about them driving out here with this friggin' stock tank strapped in the back of their truck. Anyway, I'm meeting them at the hot spring. They're coming from Reno, and I drove all the way up from Vegas, which I didn't realize. It's a distance of 400 miles. I'm driving 400 miles each way just for this weekend trip. Yikes. But him and his girlfriend are coming from Reno, and they weren't able to leave until late, so gosh, I don't know what time it'll be when they get here, but I decided to go ahead and drive out to the hot spring myself. And interestingly, I'm coming in a different way. The first time I went, I had to go through this rancher's field and close a couple gates, and the road was kind of hard to follow at points. Well, that's because I was coming from farther up north. This time I'm coming from the south, and well, so far the roads are a lot more straightforward. So speaking of this route I'm taking, because I'm coming in from a different side of this valley, I don't know if you remember, if you watched the first video I made about this hot spring. Well, when I was soaking in it at night, I could see lights way off in the distance from a geothermal power plant, which there it is. That's the geothermal power plant right there. Haha, interesting. And I'm actually really enjoying this weather. It's so bleak. This landscape is so bleak. Where I come from, it's sunny pretty much every day, so weather like this is actually kind of cool. Okay, wow. This is friggin' amazing. I came through that little kind of low range of hills into the valley where the hot spring is. I'm about 8 miles away from it, down this road here. And it's, oh my gosh, it's actually almost still. Wow, man, persistence pays off. I thought I was facing a miserable windy night, huddled around a muddy ditch of a hot spring, but man, I don't know why or how the wind suddenly died down, but I'm not asking any questions. This is amazing. This is what I meant by it being so surreal and bleak. You know, it's like I'm in a sea of sage. A foggy sea of sagebrush. I love it! Okay, wow, I don't want to jinx anything, but I got 3.5 more miles to go, and so far this road is nowhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be. I still wouldn't want to do it in the dark, never having driven it, but I still have 4G cell signal. So the guy and his girlfriend that I'm meeting out here, they've been texting me, and I forgot there's another guy who's going to be helping us as well, and apparently he's already there. He's just ahead of me. So I guess when I'll roll in, I'll find out what's what. Good morning. Okay, well, obviously it's the next morning. Obviously we got some precipitation. And obviously it's freaking cold. I mean, remember this beautiful minimalist landscape we were driving through yesterday evening? Well, it's still minimalist. But now these mountains are all dusted with snow. There's my rig. Well, I didn't shoot any video last night because, well, it was dark, A, and B, I didn't know what was going on. I thought I was just going to meet one guy and his girlfriend to rebuild a hot spring. Come to find out, they invited their friends, and, well, all in all, I think there's like 12 people that are supposed to be here this weekend. Everyone's still huddled up in their cars because it's so freaking cold, but, well, we had a really nice night last night, soaking in the hot spring, because, oh my God, let me tell you something. That water was like 100 and... I think somebody measured it. These are all fellow hot spring nuts, so they all travel with the same kind of tools I do, so like everybody has one of those thermometers. I finally found my people. But one of them measured the water, and I think it was like 104 degrees, 105. Oh my gosh, it was just perfect to soak in under the stars last night. But I felt bad because when I got here, there was only one other guy from our group, but there was this other truck parked right next to the hot spring. So both of them were right down there. I roll up. I thought they were both people that I was meeting. So, hey, hi, my name's Sarah. What's your name? Well, come to find out, this guy up here, he doesn't know anybody from this group. He's no part of this. He was just some dude who was camping here. Can you imagine? He thought he was going to be camping out in the middle of nowhere. And then, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 people, soon to be 12 people, come rolling up and ruin his solitude. I felt really bad for him because he was camped right next to the hot spring. But then when we all showed up and got in and started talking, he packed up his camp and drove up the hill. Anyway, I guess the plan is these hot spring kids that I'm hanging out with are from Reno. And they're like really dedicated hot springers. They go around fixing up hot springs all across the West. And, well, they did. They brought a stock tank, and there's plenty of hands on deck to do the digging. So I guess today the plan is to build this hot spring pool. And I'm pretty sure the one guy wants me to make a video of it, but I'm not sure who all wants to be on camera and that kind of thing. So I'm not going to shoot any video yet until I figure out what's going on. Oh my God. Can you see that? My breath is making steam. It's that friggin' cold here. Okay, now obviously I'm hunkered down in my car, but I'm just gonna peek out the window and you can maybe see up on the hill there. More people just rolled in to help with this hot spring build, which you also might be able to see. The one car there is kind of blocking it, but right there, you can maybe see it's a guy digging. That's where they decided to put in the tub they brought. Now, apologies, but it's pissing rain outside, and I don't know, man. I guess I'm really not as hardcore as I thought. Man, I'm from Southern Nevada. These people that I'm camped up here with are all from Northern Nevada, and they're used to this kind of weather. This rain is... Woo! So it's a group of, gosh, I think there was like 4 girls and 3 guys last night. Really nice people, mostly from Reno. I think one girl was from Sacramento. But we all had a really nice time soaking last night. And then when I got up this morning, I walked around a little bit. And then I got in the hot tub. There was only one other guy awake, and me and him sat in the hot tub and had coffee, and it was just friggin' awesome. Then everybody else woke up. We all sat in the hot tub together, got to know each other. Really a nice group of people. But then we all decided to get dressed and walk around and scout out where would be a good source for this new hot tub. And so they identified a location, and well, that's where they're digging right now. But as for me, I decided to fire up my stove and make some hot cocoa with fake Baileys. I got all these really nice cocoa packets from one of my viewers. It's like a assortment of different kinds of Land O'Lakes cocoa. There's caramel, vanilla, there's mint, a bunch of them. And what's more, the same person who sent me the cocoa sent me a bunch of different hot sauce packets. All different kinds of hot sauce to add to the cocoa. I know it probably sounds weird, but let me tell you something. If you put, I think I'm drinking hazelnut flavored cocoa packet. So you get a packet of hot cocoa, and then you take a packet of hot sauce. I used Cholula for this cup. I already had another cup that I used Tapatio, but any of them I think would work. Just dump it right in there, and it gives it a really nice, warm, spicy kick. And then, of course, the fake Baileys. Wow, that just adds a whole nother dimension. Anyway, I was hanging out with a couple of the other women here, and we're all having a really nice conversation, but it started raining kind of heavily, and, well, it was just unpleasant, so we all just decided to get in our cars. And I did bring up the fact that, I don't know, shouldn't we be helping the guys dig out the hot spring tub? And I just thought, the other women didn't think that it was necessary, so. Hey man, I have full cell signal here, which is weird because last time I camped here I had no signal, but now I have this WeBoost cell signal booster wired up. It's like an antenna that goes on top of your car, and it amplifies my cell signal to almost full strength, 4G, so. I think I'm just gonna catch up on the news, man. Sit here and drink my cocoa and catch up on what's going on in the rest of the world. Now, meanwhile, that other guy's car, you can still see he's parked way up there off by himself. I actually chatted with him this morning when I was walking around, and, he's a friendly guy. He wasn't too keen on these improvements being made to this hot spring, though, because he seemed to think that the rancher in this area, this is BLM land, federally owned Bureau of Land Management, Public Lands, but if you're a rancher, apparently you can, you pay the BLM a fee to lease the land to graze your cattle. So that's why there's all this cow poop around here and all these cows, is this rancher nearby leases the land to graze his cattle on. And so according to this guy that's been camping here, if we build up the pools and do too much to divert the water, then I can't remember exactly what he said. The cattle won't have enough water to drink downstream where they drink, and so the rancher is just going to end up coming back up here and supposedly tearing out whatever improvements are made. So I don't know if they're doing this for nothing or what, or if that guy was just being grumpy because we kind of ruined his solitude. I have a feeling it might be a little bit of both. But to be honest, I didn't find that guy to be super grumpy. I talked to him for quite a while. He was just an old timer trying to enjoy his private little hot spring soak without, a bunch of people rolling in and, well, making a ruckus. Anyway, I'm just going to sit here and drink my cocoa before it gets cold, and well, hopefully it'll stop raining, man. Like, not just so I could go for a soak in the hot spring or, go help with the tub, but gosh, if it rains too much, I'm afraid I might not be able to get out of here. We're in the middle of a big boggy cow pasture. Yikes. Day 2 on the frozen sagebrush wastelands of central Nevada. I barely survived the night, thanks to my hat, socks, and wool blanket. Just kidding, sort of. It's friggin' freezing. You're probably wondering what happened to the rest of day 1. Well, after I shot this video, I got in the car, made the cocoa. Well, I basically just ended up staying in my car because it got windy, it was raining, it was freezing. One of the other couples just went ahead and left, and the rest of us just kind of hunkered down in our cars for the night. unfortunately. So my plan is, it's the morning of day 3. I'm gonna hike over and check out the hot spring that they built. They did a really nice job. I did leave my car for a little bit to go look at, you know, the fruits of their labor, but it was too cold to even take off my clothes and get in. And I also just felt slightly awkward about that other guy that's camping here. You might be able to see the top of his rig up there above the ridge. Incidentally, that's the guy whose wolf dog I was playing with earlier in the video. I don't know if I made that clear. Anyway, I felt bad for him because he was pretty well opposed to them building this hot spring. And I didn't really want to get in the middle of it because I don't even know these people and they seem well intentioned. But at the same time, he had some pretty solid theories as to why they shouldn't do it. So I don't know, man. They ended up doing it anyways, kind of right by where he was camped, which I also felt awkward about. Like, he was originally camped right by the lower hot spring, but then we all rolled up, and I mean, I wasn't the first one to arrive, but basically camped right next to him and drove him up the hill, which, to be fair, hot spring etiquette dictates you shouldn't camp right next to the hot spring anyways, which is where he was. So it's kind of his bad, but then we did just sort of all post up right by him. So that was kind of weird. We drove him up the hill. Then what do? Go up the hill to build this other hot spring. So it was just awkward, but I guess it all worked out, man. And it is finally a beautiful day. The sun came out. It's thawing things out somewhat. I mean, this is just a spectacular valley. Look at that low layer of clouds there. I think it's because there's so much geothermal activity in this valley that it creates weird weather patterns. I mean, they don't typically get this much snow, according to the other guy that was camped here, who basically lives here, by the way, in his truck. So we just kicked him out of his house. But they got a lot of snow last night. And it's really interesting. That's that geothermal power plant in the distance there. Look how much steam is coming off of that thing. I feel like the guy that was living here was telling me that that geothermal plant kind of does suck down the water in this valley and has messed up a couple of the hot springs because of that, which sucks. But, you know, I don't know how much power they generate at this plant, but I suppose the needs of the many outweigh the needs of a few. So if it ruins a hot spring but it powers, you know, 1,000 houses, what are you gonna do? Anyway, gosh, it's so still here. Everybody can probably hear what I'm saying. Okay, let's go look at I'll show you guys the little hot spring tub they built yesterday. Now, fortunately, I remembered to bring these galoshes with me so I can walk through any of this stuff. Here's another one of the hot spring pools. Look at this. Look how deep that goes. You can see the steam rising off it. Now, when my friends were scouting around trying to figure out where to put this new hot spring tub, they considered this source, and I don't remember why. Oh, I think they didn't pick this one because there's not like a good place downhill from it to put the tub. They ended up going a little higher because they needed gravity, because they put this PVC pipe in from the source down to the tub, and there wasn't really a good spot downhill from that, even though I think the water in that one was hotter than the one they ended up using, which is right up here. I gotta be quiet because that guy's camp is right up here. Poor guy. Here's the tub they built. I mean, they did a solid job. Like, they put a valve on it and plumbed it nicely. And it's not very warm. You'd have to turn this on and let it run for quite a while to heat up the water enough to soak in. But I don't know, all things considered, I feel like they did a pretty good job. And what a friggin' view from this tub. Look at that. There's our camp. Unfortunately, 2 of the others are still asleep, so I don't want to make a bunch of noise. I won't shoot any video over at camp. Okay, it's a little bit later. The sun came out. One of my friends that I'm camped with made a campfire. Gosh, it got warm enough to where I was sitting by the fire without my robe even on. And then the other guy that was camped up top even came down to join us. And I made him a cup of cocoa as a friendship gesture. Everything was going great. And it friggin' started snowing. Look at this, guys. This is Nevada, okay? Just beautiful snow-capped mountains. Weather's kind of moving in over yonder, and I don't know if you can see, but there's snow falling. Snow falling, doesn't that beat all? You can see it on the ground, look. Pretty big chunks too. Well, you know what that means. When the snow starts a-falling, there's only one thing to do, and that is drink some cocoa with some Baileys and sit in the hot spring. I'm gonna go do that. I'm not gonna be able to shoot any video though. There's too many other people over there, and well, I don't want to be rude. Oh man, party's over. I got in the hot spring with my cocoa and the snow was falling and my friends had that campfire going, my new friends. Oh my gosh, it was so nice to be in a hot spring with a campfire and snow falling. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. We sat there and, you know, we hung out for a few hours just chatting, and like I said, that other camper came down. I made him a cup of cocoa. But wouldn't you know it, it was interesting with the guy that was camped there first. He came off grumpy, but I don't know, he seemed like a nice guy. He had a kind face, he had kind eyes, and I can pretty much, well, I can get along with just about anyone. And I thought for sure, since he accepted my cocoa, you know, he'd come be friendly. And he did. He moved his camp down right back to where it was, right next to the hot spring. And but he sat inside his tarp by himself. Well, finally, he did come over to our campfire, but only to ask us if we could move it. He asked us if we could just shovel out the campfire and move it back uphill because the smoke was supposedly floating over the hot spring, and I guess he wanted to go for a soak, and he didn't want to have to breathe in the fire smoke, which I understand. Like I said, I was in the hot spring and I got a little bit of campfire smoke, but it wasn't that bad. And he knew we were all leaving in a couple hours anyway, so gosh, I don't know. I kept going back and forth. Like, I was defending the guy to the others. Like, well, yeah, he seems kind of grumpy, but he's a nice guy. I don't know, man. At the end of the day, I think there's grumpy and then there's just grumpy. And that guy was just grumpy. Well, I guess that explains why he's living out at a hot spring in the middle of nowhere. He wants to be alone, which is something I can definitely understand. Anyway, it's already almost 1:30 in the afternoon. It's a Sunday afternoon, and I kind of wanted to be back home tonight. Google Maps says I'm facing a 7-hour drive back to Vegas. And there's a lot of stuff I want to stop and check out along the way. So who knows where or when my next adventure will be. So stay tuned. After leaving the hot spring, I drove around checking out various abandoned buildings, but nothing really seemed interesting enough to shoot a video. So I continued on south to a canyon where one of the hot spring rebuilders had tipped me off to the existence of one of those volunteer cabins I like to explore. By then it was mid-afternoon, and since it gets dark at friggin' 5 o'clock this time of year, I didn't have much daylight left, but I figured I had just enough time to get up to the cabin, make a quick video, and then head back down. I didn't think there'd be that much snow on the ground since it had been less than 48 hours since the first snow of the season. But as I drove further and further up the canyon, the snow got deeper and deeper. It was absolutely beautiful, but after a while, I couldn't even see the road anymore. Being a stubborn person, I kept driving, following the shape of the landscape where I figured the road was hidden underneath the snow. And I got to within 1.5 miles of the cabin, but at that point, the snow was almost a foot deep, and I decided it was probably smarter and safer to just turn around while I still had daylight and save the cabin for another day. After all, I had never driven this road before, so I didn't know what surprises lurked underneath the snow, and I really didn't want to get stuck in a ditch and have to spend another freezing night in my car. So, as much as it pained me, I actually did the smart thing and turned around. I stopped to top off my gas at a nearby outpost and then made the long drive back home to Vegas. Wah, wah. I added this postscript to the video so that those of you who worry about me rolling around the middle of nowhere might find some peace of mind knowing that I do actually exercise a decent amount of caution on my adventures. I mean, I do want to end up on the Discovery Channel, but only if I get my own show. Not as part of one of those shows like I Shouldn't Be Alive.